Hello everybody, it's me George, and today I wanted to talk about something that happened the other day, and it's something that has got me thinking. Now, first and foremost, I want to sort of say that this is in no way, shape, or form an attack, but it is an evaluation that is a criticism, but it's not actually an attack. It's actually quite a heavy criticism, and it's something that I have found throughout my life in regards to researching witch trials or going to events that are centered around the witch trials, and also in regards to some historians and some academics. So, yesterday we had gone to a memorial for witch trials that occurred here in the area where I reside. Now, there were actually 3 witch trials, interestingly enough, and it was a brilliant evening. Don't get me wrong; it was a fantastic evening. However, there was something that popped up that left me quite frustrated. Is, for want of a better word, I was frustrated because for me, I found that there were things that have cropped up my whole life when I've gone to these events. Now, one of the things that I see happening quite regularly to people that aren't practitioners of the craft, but also people that are more kind of historian based, when we talk about the witch trials, is this aspect of, it was just a way to get someone's land, or it was just a way to get just to fuck someone over who had been meddling with your partner, or it was just a way to kind of get rid or eliminate that person, which in some cases it was. It absolutely was. However, one of the things I think people miss out when we talk about the witch trials is the anthropological aspect of that, as in the study of magic. And I think that that is one of the key things that people miss out when we talk about the witch trials. And by acknowledging that, you are not saying that you yourself believe in magic, but you are actively saying, look, here are the facts of history, but here is also the other facts of history that people believed in magic back then, like they do today, but it was a lot more prevalent back then. This is a time, the early modern period, Britain was a time where, you couldn't have access to clean running water like we do. Malaria was around every corner. Polio was a thing. It was very common for your first and second child to die, and for you to die when you gave birth. People were desperate. There was no NHS. There was no access to medical health care. People were desperate. People needed something. And when desperation comes, I have a belief that people turn to magic when they get desperate, when they have exceeded every single avenue in their life and they have nothing left and they are desperate for anything and something to change. I believe that magic was born to a degree out of that. Not necessarily all magic, but I think the elements of casting spells and things like that, I definitely believe there is ties there. And I'm not calling anyone that practices magic desperate, full stop. I'm not saying that because I am not. But there have been situations in my life where I've practiced magic because I have been desperate for a roof over my head, because I have been desperate for someone to go away because they are jeopardizing my safety. This was no different for people of the early modern period, but this would have been times 1,000 in intensity. People literally throughout the winter would sleep with their cattle. These people were people that if their chicken died, they died. It meant no more eggs, and I think that this is one of the things that we miss out. You only need to have a look at history in terms of cunning folk, in terms of wise women, in terms of wise men, to realise that, oh my God, there were people in this time and period that practiced magic, and in some accounts were brought up to witch trials, yes, to give testimony against the witch. And in some accounts of history, of early modern period history, cunning folk would be brought to court to say, yes, she's a witch, I have done this charm and it has worked, before certain laws of magic against using magic were passed. Because before the law that was like, right, no magic at all, there was a law, off the top of my head it's gone, but I believe it's Popular Magic Owen Davis. He mentions that cunning folk were brought up to testify in court against a prosecuted witch, because the law stated that it was illegal to use malefic magic, but it wasn't illegal to use beneficial magic under the name of God. But then it became apparent, like, to people, to their mind, to the mind of the law, that essentially, you know, all magic was the devil. You know, if you said God, it didn't matter. It was just all from the devil. So all magic is illegal now. But this is what I am trying to say. Cunning folk practice was integral in witch trials. You know, there are so many spells, historical spells from cunning folk to deter or to find out a witch, to find out who they are. You know, cunning men quite often would get people to scry in their own wee to see the face of the witch. That was a regular thing. And that is the thing that really frustrates me. I don't feel like the anthropological perspective of magic, when we talk about the witch trials, gets noted enough. And if it does, it gets dismissed as either mental illness or craziness, complete and utter craziness. But the fact of the matter is, cultures for thousands of years have utilized the practice of magic. That does not make them mental. That does not make them crazy. They are not mental. They are not crazy. You know, the person saying this could believe in God. It's like, okay, well, you believe in a magical sky fairy. You know, and you say this person that believes in magic is crazy? Silly. Absolutely silly. And for the record, I do believe in God. I believe in deity. I believe in divinity, 120%. But it just frustrates me, because when they do talk about it, I think there's a condescending aspect to it, or a patronizing aspect to it. And I think that's really, really unfair. Like the other day that was mentioned was that there was this one woman who would go around and talk to the fairies, and the person was like, yeah, such a wee soul, like I feel so sorry for her. She probably had dementia, she probably had mental health and, you know, mental illness. And she said that she talked to Titania, the queen of the fairies, and she was tried as a witch. And it's like, well, no. If you looked historically, you would see that cunning folk used to work with fairies. That was a thing. The Grimoire of Arthur Gauntlet, a 17th century's cunning man grimoire, it's in there. Then look at other witch trials. Isabel Godey, Andrew Mann, Bessie Dunlop, go into the Queen of the Fairies, to the Queen of Elfland or Elfheim or Elfame. That is a thing. That was a thing. But I think for me, I just find it quite frustrating. And I think by stating that people believed in magic, you are not necessarily stating that you believed in magic, but it was a massive part of people's lives. And, you know, am I saying that every person that was testified against was a witch? No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. Am I saying they were witches? No, I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is, when we talk about witch trials, you have to also know the mind frame and the belief that people had that was important, that was integral, an integral part of their lives. We can't talk about the early modern period witch trials and not actually talk about cunning folk, wise women, folk healers. It kind of devoids the conversation, because yes, there were people that most of the time, you know, there were people that, I want to get her land, she's a witch. You know, it's corrupted power, and it was. But there were also instances where folk magic was involved. It was involved. And this could have just been a simple Catholic charm to cure someone, and the person was a cunning folk, and then someone was like, witch! Do you know what I mean? But that doesn't get included in these things, and I really feel like it needs to. And that is in no way, shape or form a disrespect to that person that was doing that talk. But what it is something that I think historians struggle with. And I think that it's almost as if they believe by saying these things, it's going to make them look more dumb or stupid. And I think that it is, you know, to some degree, really quite patronizing to the memories of these people. When they're like, no, you know, magic didn't exist and they was deluded and blah, 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 and that's that. But the whole reason it happened was because people hated this group of people and they wanted to do that. It's like, well, yes, but no. There was also that part of it, which was an integral part to people's existence. Yeah, I hope I've made sense. It's a bit of a rant. It's absolutely a rant, but I do think that it's something that needs to change. It really is something that needs to change. And I think that it is something that people need to be aware of. And it's really lovely that there are people that are just so passionate about the witch trials, about these people that were put to death and quite frankly, like murdered. They were just murdered. You know, they were just murdered for being different, or some of them were cunning folk, some of them were practitioners. Bessie Dunlop was a wise woman, had these charms to help deliver babies. She was a midwife, but she also used herbs and she also had charms. So, you know, but people disregard that, and I don't think that is actually a healthy thing to do. Not only for history, but also for the memories of these people. Yeah, that's my little rant. That's my little TED talk. It's my little soapbox moment. No hate to the person that done the talk as well. It's just an evaluation and it's just an observation. Yeah, I hope this helps. Over and out, and peace.